So there is a renewed and re-energized Beto O'Rourke running around out there. He's running for the Democratic nomination in 2020. It's not going super well. Beto is polling 2 to 3% in his latest post-second debate polls. His first debate performance was atrocious, but Beto is on fire this week. I told you earlier this week that Beto was finally speaking sort of more from the heart. He wasn't using these calculated talking points. And he was speaking earlier this week about the El Paso shooting, very clearly and very precisely drawing a connective line between Donald Trump's rhetoric and the shooting. And now he straight up called Donald Trump a white supremacist on live television. Take a look at this clip.
You've been very clear that you believe the president is a racist. Is the president a white supremacist?
He is. He's also made that very clear. He's dehumanized or sought to dehumanize those who do not look like or pray like the majority here in this country. He said, I wish we had more immigrants from Nordic countries because those from Haiti bring AIDS. Those from Africa come from shithole nations. He's been very clear about who he prefers to be in this country and who he literally wants to keep out with walls and cages and militarization and torture and cruelty. And again, we in El Paso have borne the brunt of all of that, but we in El Paso are standing up to all of that right now. And I've never been more proud of this community than I am at this moment.
I don't really know if Trump is a white supremacist. He's certainly fomenting and coalescing and encouraging white supremacy. But this is a great new Beto. I said it Monday and I'll repeat it today. If this had been the Beto we'd been seeing all along, he might be polling better than 2 or 3%. I mean, it's really a breath of fresh air in a world riddled with calculated talking points and hedging on everything. And from what I understand, there are people around Beto, I don't know if official campaign people or just people that he talks to, who are cautioning him about saying certain things so bluntly. Politicians are supposed to, have caveats and speak in vague language. That failed Beto completely. The calculated milquetoast bullet points have completely failed him and left him in a losing position in this primary. It's probably too late already to actually help him recover, but maybe not. He has qualified for the third debate. The tell it like it is version of Beto is absolutely the way to go. And in fact, this is the version of Beto that almost saw him take out an incumbent Republican senator in the red state of Texas, Ted Cruz. He ultimately did lose, but not by much. And it was close because it was genuine, tell it like it is, say what's on your mind, Beto. And it's really just kind of sad that telling it like it is in normal speech is this notable for a politician. Beto was asked a question. He answered it clearly with a yes or no. He supported it with examples. And you can say, well, it's easier now for Beto to just let it fly and to behave this way because he no longer has anything to lose because he's polling 2%. You may be right about what has inspired the change. Maybe it is that he feels like he has nothing else to lose. It could just be that he is genuinely affected by what's been going on in El Paso because that is where he's from. But it's a sad commentary on the political environment either way. Whatever the reasons are, I'm glad to see this, Beto. And by the way, whatever you think about white supremacist as a term for Donald Trump, corporate media won't even call Trump a liar. We've talked about this before. Corporate media will say when Trump has strayed from the facts, when Trump has not been accurate in the things that he has said, times the president didn't tell the whole truth. And from what I understand, there are legal reasons why many corporate media outlets stop short of just straight up calling Donald Trump a liar. But it would really be great if it wasn't so rare to just call things what they are. And I'm not, people know that my politics are more in line with Bernie's or with Elizabeth Warren's, for example, not necessarily Beto O'Rourke. But I hope that this Beto continues. I hope that this is the Beto that we see in the September 12th or 12th and 13th debates, I guess, depending on how many people are left in the race at that point in time. Because this actually is a Beto that might inspire rather than confuse and sort of just make people wonder, what is it that he even really stands for? It feels too calculated. It feels too focus grouped in some way. Let's hope that it continues. And by the way, speaking of a politician just speaking from the heart and telling it like it is, I was able to watch more of Bernie's appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience yesterday. A bunch of people on my Twitch stream yesterday said, you really got to check it out. It was really good. And I know that, so there's this like never ending battle, not to go completely off script here, proverbially. But there's this never ending battle about, should the left appear on Joe Rogan's show because he allows so many right wing talking points to be parroted uninterrupted, or should leftists avoid Joe Rogan's show? I think the answer is very clear. Anybody who goes on Joe Rogan's program is going to be given an opportunity to sort of flesh out their ideas with only mild resistance or pushback from Joe. Like, that's the format. And he pushed back on things I said a little bit when I was on his program back in June. And he pushed back a little bit with Bernie. But what was fantastic about Bernie's appearance, which was only, I think, like 67 minutes long or something like that, what was great about it is that Joe provided, you could argue that it was not enough or too much, depending on your politics, but he provided an amount of pushback to Bernie that was enough for Bernie to be able to come right back with counterpoints that in that environment were very, very strong. Fantastic appearance for Bernie Sanders on the program. I don't know if it's, enough to move polling for Bernie, but it's certainly enough to generate donations for Bernie, which unfortunately in the money in politics status quo system that we have makes a difference. And I think it was completely worthwhile for Bernie to do it.